Nick, I'm absolutely buzzing to be having this conversation with you on a Crictips platform. And the reason I'm saying that is because number one, I'm a massive, massive cricket fan. I think fan is an understatement. I should probably say zealot or fanatic. And the second reason being the fact that I'm a fitness enthusiast as well, a fitness fiend. And so that's why I've been covering your work for a long, long time. But, I'm cognizant of the fact that not everyone might be aware of exactly what you're doing. So why don't we commence proceedings with you giving us a brief background about what you do, what you've been doing over the years and what you're currently doing.
So thanks for hosting me. When they got hold of me to have this chat with you, I've seen your work before, and you're definitely an insightful presenter. So glad to be here. So I'm currently with the Indian side. I'm their head strength and conditioning coach. I've been here almost 2.5 years. So I started after the World Cup in 2019, and it's been an interesting time with India. We've had a lot of highs, a lot of historical moments, which has been great. But we've also faced a lot of challenges with COVID. So a lot of learning experiences from me as well, and obviously the team. So it's been a great experience so far with the boys. Prior to that, I was with New Zealand Cricket for almost 7 years. I held a couple of roles. Domestically, I was with Central Districts Cricket for 5 seasons, which is like a state side in India. And in the back end of that stint, I held a dual role with the head of S&C for the Women's National Program as well. So, which was great as well, working with the women and working with the national program. Prior to that, I arrived at New Zealand Cricket with the New Zealand Warriors Rugby League Club, which is a professional rugby league organisation that plays in the NRL. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but it's different than rugby. I'm pretty sure you would have heard of the All Blacks. So it's not rugby in the All Blacks. It's rugby league. Play slightly different, but very physical. Very fast game. A lot of big human beings play that game as well. I was very fortunate to be involved there for 4 years as well. And then prior to that was in semi-professional rugby with North Harbour Rugby. So a little bit of a career so far, almost 15 years, a heap of experiences, which has allowed me to almost express myself here with the Indian squad as well, and provide a different skill set, different set of eyes, and I'm sure the boys are enjoying it as well. And it'll be good to hopefully get across the line here over in Dubai.
Absolutely. I can attest to that, being an Indian cricket fan, being an Indian. Nick, you spoke about like everything that you've been doing over the last 15 years. I think you're being humble because you forgot about one feather in your cap. You forgot about the fact that you're an MBA candidate as well.
So as part of that process, I guess, back in New Zealand, I've got one master's already, Master of Health Science out of AUT on the North Shore in Auckland. It was a broad degree, and I decided to specialise in strength and conditioning and sports performance. And then I did some research with the Warriors while I was there as part of my thesis. And then now, start of 2020, I started my master's in business administration, which has been awesome. It's been great. It's a generous degree, obviously, but I've owned a couple of companies along the way as well over the last 10 years. Personally, my wife and I, we live up in the Bay of Islands, which is right up north of the North Island and 3 hours north of Auckland. We live right next to her parents, and it's a horticultural area. So we own a 3.3 hectare gold kiwifruit orchard as well, which is a big export product for New Zealand as well. So I guess the Masters of Business broadened my knowledge and scope and my skills. And I like to think that I like the term context switch. So it allows me to be able to have conversations with marketing, finance, product development, head coaches, physiotherapists, an overall business oversight, I guess, when I'm having conversations. It just broadens my spectrum of who I can work for and how I operate, and can have more intellectual conversations with the right people.
And rumor has it you're a coffee lover as well, which is exactly why I've brought out my coffee mug.
I've just finished my double espresso, and my wife and kids is down by the pool here, and she goes, "You better have your coffee before this." I'm a better person with caffeine in my bloodstream. So no, I love coffee. I love the taste. I like the kick as well, but I definitely restrict myself with a bit of caffeine in my system from 2 o'clock. Otherwise, I'm not sleeping.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nick, you spoke about the fact that your first stint with the Indian team or you began your stint with the Indian team after the World Cup ended in 2019.
Yep.
So
Yep.
your first stint was when South Africa had toured India. It's been a brilliant 2 years for you. You're going to be ending your stint once the T20 World Cup ends. So, if you had to reflect back on how the last 2 years have been, like how exactly would you sum it up?
Good question. Look, I think when you first reflect, I'll always start with the good things that has come out of it, and the memories that will always be imprinted in my life would be that win in Australia. We came back from a lot of adversity. We had a lot of injuries, and I learned a lot from that series, because what people see the injuries that we had over in Australia, and like I can certainly take some responsibility. That's part of my role, and obviously the overall medical team as well. But the things that people don't see is that the players came from eight months of lockdown basically in India. Some of them had basically not stepped out of their apartment or could even run for a good 5 months or 6 months of that. And then they go straight into IPL, and here in Dubai again in this smoking heat, going from a T20 format then to a huge Australian tour. In an ideal world, that's not ideal preparation. So I learned a lot from that, but how we managed the players to finish the series like that was amazing. And things obviously we reflected as a group. Things didn't go as well as we'd like, even though the scorelines were, it didn't really reflect that. But we learned a lot, and then we implemented a lot in the series following that, and how to manage the guys coming out of lockdowns, because we have a lot of quarantines coming into series as well, and how we really manage them coming out of the quarantines and how we build them back up with probably a less time that we would like before the series would start. We would generally come out of quarantine for 5 to 7 days, and then play our first test match or our first ODI. So we learned a lot of how to manage the guys coming out. So I mean, from a winning perspective, that's definitely a highlight, and a huge learning experience from all of us here and how we manage them, because like everyone knows, COVID has thrown a lot of spanners in the works, which has been great for our growth as a team as well. Obviously, unfortunately, the England series got caught short recently in England. I reckon we were hands up ready to beat them. We had them on the ropes, but it's unfortunate we couldn't finish it the way it did. But that was a highlight to win at Lords. I'll always remember when Mohammad Shami got that. Siraj got that final wicket, and I ended up trying to hug Bara Arun, and on the balcony I tried to lift him up, and I caught him by surprise, and his sunglasses down. I broke his sunglasses, and so yeah, that was definitely a highlight, and obviously the Oval win as well, which was brilliant. But yeah, and like I said, like you can always reflect on those good times, but then obviously the COVID challenges that we've faced over the last 18 months as a team hasn't been so great, but from a personal growth point of view, it's taught me a lot as well.
Absolutely. And Nick, you spoke about lots of highs, lots of highlights, a few lows as well, but I think safe to say that the highs have been much higher compared to, how low the lows have been. I was looking at your Instagram, as part of the extensive due diligence that I do before I speak with any personality. And you mentioned in one of your recent posts that for the past 2 years, I've had the privilege and the honor of being part of the dressing room of the Indian cricket team. Talk to me about the culture in the dressing room. Like, what's it like to be in the dressing room? From the outside, we have a conjecture, we can only hypothesize. But as someone who's been there, done that inside the dressing room, what's it like? What's the culture like?
It starts with our leadership, and I've inherited it as well. But I've been privileged enough to be able to carry that on as well and be a part of it. And it starts from the coaching staff that have been there for a long time, and obviously Virat Kohli, our leader, throughout the entire time. And people see a fearless leader and a fearless coach, and that comes out onto the field. And you probably have seen it the way we finished the Australian series, the England series. This team can win from any place and any part of the game, any day in the Test match, whether we've got our backs against the wall or we're right on top. We will come back from any position, and if we're on top, we will put the foot to the throat, and that's led by the the coaches that have been here and Virat Kohli and the other senior players. You know, it's about backing your skills, and these guys are very talented, and they're here for a reason. I mean, with a 1.4 billion population, to make this squad, they have to be very, very good. You know, and it's about the environment that they're in. It's just about backing their skills and, you know, knowing that they can get themselves out of any situation. And if they're not in good form or they're struggling a bit, there's someone else that can help them along with it as well. So I guess that's the more of a broad idea around what the dressing room's like. But they're a great bunch of guys. You probably see the hard-nosed, fearless players on the field, but behind the scenes, they're very fun. They're very welcoming. They're friendly, and they love a joke. They love a laugh, like anyone. And I get to ask the question all the time, what's it like working with these Indian guys? And look, coming from New Zealand to India, you know, these guys are held with such high regard, and I hold them with high regard as well. But coming with a different set of eyes, you know, they're just people to me, and I treat them as a normal human being. And if I treat them any different, I think I'm doing them a disservice. So yeah, I treat them on who they are as a person, where they've come from, and how they want to operate. And I've done a lot of adjusting with my coaching for this environment, but also tried to add my set of eyes, my set of perspectives and thinking as well around how they prepare as well. And I think I've added a little bit of value in my tenure as well. So no, it's been great.
And you've, of course, worked with the boys in a professional capacity. But apart from that, you know, as you mentioned, off the field, they're a great bunch of lads. They like having fun. They like having a joke, having a laugh. What sort of relationship have you built with not just Virat Kohli, but all of the boys?
Oh, look, my relationship with every guy is different. And I think that's the key of being a coach, and especially a coach who's coming into a different environment, different culture, different languages. Not everyone operates the same way. So I've had to adjust my relationships and how I approach the relationships differently. So how I build trust with Mayank Agarwal versus Virat Kohli versus Rohit Sharma or Yuzi Chahal is much different to everyone else. You know, you adjust your approaches differently. The type of language that you use, how direct you are versus indirect, allowing these guys to make decisions for themselves, where some guys actually want to be told what to do and be guided a lot more. So it took a little bit of time. It probably took about the first 6 months of my tenure to understand who does what, when, and how they like it. And I think by adjusting and adapting your approach to each individual, you build that trust, because it's not a blanket way of building trust for everyone.
Absolutely.
So yeah, my relationship is different and complex with every individual in this team. But I think the standard thing I come across is I'm very open. I will not say no first. I'll always listen to these guys, but I'll always put my ideas across to them as well, because I think as a coach, you need to empower them to make decisions for themselves as well. Even if the guys want to be directed and told a lot, yes, there's time for that. Because at the end of the day, these guys need to make decisions for themselves on the field. And if I can make them as self-sufficient as they can, it makes my job easier to guide them in the right direction, rather than trying to find and seek new ideas all the time. So yeah, again, long story short, my relationship is very different with everyone. And look, I'm one that I firmly believe I can't influence everyone. There's 30 guys on tour at a time, perhaps mostly. But if I can't influence or we have a mutual respect with everyone, but if I can't influence everyone, then there's other people who can as well, which I build, strong relationships as well. So that's like every day in life. You're not going to be able to influence everyone, but you always have mutual respect for each other.
Absolutely. I think, everything that you spoke about definitely sheds light on your man management abilities, understanding the individual, understanding what that particular individual, what makes him or her tick that way,
Yes.
And I feel that's one of the reasons why, the work that you've done has definitely helped the players express themselves, express their athletic abilities, their athletic skill sets a lot more on the field. Speaking of all the players that you worked with, we have to talk about Virat Kohli. I'm pretty sure this is going to be music to the ears of all the viewers on Crictips, as well as music to my ears, because he's by far my number one idol. It's Virat Kohli, number one in terms of my idol pecking order, followed by Broad Daylight, followed by the rest of the pack. That's one of the reasons why I've been trying to emulate his beard as well. I'm definitely not doing half as good a job as he does, but getting there slowly.
Yeah, I think Virat's got a few grey hairs coming through now, so I don't know about you.
I know, I've seen that. This portion is a lot thicker for Virat, but he's got a much more chiseled jawline as well, which is something that I'm working towards. So hopefully, the beard looks much better.
He tries to hide his grey. He tries to hide his grey hairs. I think it's when it started coming since he's had children.
but I mean, just goes to show the longevity of the career that he's had, and of course, he still has a long way to go in cricket. Given how fit he is, he's as fit as a fiddle, as fit as a butcher's dog, as they sometimes call it. So talk to me about the culture that Virat Kohli has been responsible for setting, especially as it relates to fitness, because compared to what the situation was like maybe 10 years back or pre-Virat Kohli, there's a paradigm shift in the Indian cricket team, in the culture of the Indian cricket team. And a big part of that culture is the culture of fitness that's been set by Virat Kohli. And of course, you worked with him over the last 2 years in establishing that culture and improving that culture further.
So, I mean, I certainly can't claim the transition of when that sort of that culture change happened. It's happened through my predecessor, Basu Shankar, who I took over from. And he set an excellent foundation of athleticism. He identified that if India is going to compete consistently on the international stage, you need a level of athleticism, and not just in the 11, but a good 40-50 players. And luckily enough, Virat had a moment in his career where he said, "Well, enough was enough." He to his admission, he was chubby. He was getting out and he was feeling lazy. He was eating crap. So there was a moment in his career where he said, enough is enough. Like, I've got to get in shape here and I want to be the best in the world. So he related back to, he related back to his fitness, the way he prepared, what he put in his body, to the outcomes that he wanted on the field. And that was started with Basu, like I mentioned, at the start of his career, his tenure 6-7 years ago. So I took over. And again, it was an excellent foundation to take over from. And my role, and I was specifically remember, first team meeting, I arrived late in that South African series in 2019, and we had a team huddle, and Ravi Shastri rolls up and he goes, "Welcome, Nick." And he goes, "You, in front of every single person there, you are to take this team to the next level. You be as hard as you need to be, set the standards as high as you can. This is what you're here for. Like, we've got a great foundation. You are to take it to the next level," in front of every single test player that was there. And I was like, righto, okay.
No pressure, son.
No pressure, but let's go. So, I mean, the mindset of these players is top drawer. Like, these guys want to be fit. And I think one of the reasons why I've come on board as well is I have a different perspective. I've worked in many different sports, and I have a different set of eyes. So I have a different way of working than people that they've worked with previously. But yeah, my role was to take them to the next level and work alongside them to understand where they've come from, where they need to head to, from an individual level, a system level, and a team level. There's 3 levels that we work from. And obviously we work very closely with the National Cricket Academy as well, who has a big amount of influence around how we roll the standards out as well. But if Virat Kohli wants something, and if he wants standards higher, then it's easier for me to influence the entire system around it. Like anything, it's a power in numbers. So as long as I can convince the direction of the physical preparation program with Virat and Ravi Shastri, then it's easier to roll that because you have the backing. So I took a little bit of time. I took 12 months, but I said right from the get-go, these guys need to be fitter. And how we go about that is actually quite complex. So, short coming in short, then December 2020, I signed off with the secretary and Ravi and Virat the updated physical standards. So you would have seen it in the media, increase in the yo-yo level, and an increase that we included a 2K time trial, and various other measures that will be rolled out eventually, and recommendations. And we rolled that out to National Cricket Academy, and then very, very quickly it was announced that most of the states will start using those tests, because essentially as soon as guys start passing these tests, they know that they are at the minimum standard of price of entry, I term, into the Indian team. So I mean, we increased the levels quite a lot, because if you look at, I did an international comparison of what the fitness standards are of all international teams. This was part of my due diligence. We compared England, Australia, New Zealand. And look, to be fair, the Indian team here, we compete from a skill level, if not the most skillful team in the entire world. But I felt that we needed to increase our fitness levels because we needed to compete against the Australians, the English, and the New Zealanders on a international level and a recovery-based level. So, I mean, yes, we can get them fitter, faster, stronger. But if you look at the guys, the best in the world, Trent Bolt, Pat Cummins, all these guys, we'll run in hard all day. I'm not saying our guys won't, but the fitter our guys are, especially our pace bowlers, Virat Kohli, is the faster they recover from day 1 to day 3 in a test match, between an ODI series and a test match series, and between series, rather than carrying over residual fatigue and slowly, filling your bucket with fatigue, I call, and you eventually put yourself at risk of injury. So essentially, in my mind, if we can get our guys fitter, yes, they'll be able to express themselves athletically in the field, but they'll also recover faster between match, in preparation for trainings, between series, because our guys play a lot of cricket. I know after this T20 World Cup, I mean, it's non-stop for our guys. I was talking about it the other day. He's not going to probably go home until next August. So by any sort of rotation policy, these guys need to be fit, not only to be able to play at the highest level and express themselves, but be able to recover quickly between series, to be able to, their bodies to be able to last, a long period of time on tour and playing cricket.
Absolutely. And safe to say, Nick, that the players have taken to the new fitness standards, the much higher fitness standards, like a fish takes to water.
Yep, and I think it's challenged a lot of guys too, because I did increase it quite a lot, and I didn't pick these standards out of thin air. I did a lot of research. We conducted a lot of preliminary tests where our current crop of guys were, and I think we found a good amount of balance, because we don't want to set the standards too high where we don't have any players to pick, because it is based, you use this as a selection criteria as well. So we found the balance, but some guys did find it challenging as well. The guys were just on the cusp of the standards. So if anything, it just shows that, the price of entry into this Indian type side, we don't want them to come into the side and fitness to be a determining factor for their failure. We don't need to have to worry about that. And the standard starts now. We're one of, if not the best team in the world, and there needs to be standards set for that. And I'll be honest, it was a challenging system, using the fitness standards based on selection criteria, because we didn't use that in New Zealand. Our philosophy over in New Zealand was, yes, we would do physical testing, and we did have physical standards, but it was based on individual needs. So, for example, if an ex-player achieved a certain amount and we created a profile of what they needed to hit, we gave them targets. And we used that as regular feedback based on where we were in the season, and set programs accordingly based on what type of player they were. Where here it's based on selection criteria. So there's a lot at stake for guys if they don't. So from a work experience and personal experience, that challenged me a little bit. And I'll always remember, and my first experience with it when I brought the new standards in, we had Rahul Tiawati come in, and he was about to make his debut. And look, by all accounts, I'd never met the guy, but he'd trained pretty hard, and the guy, he turned up we're in a bio bubble. He had to have his mask on and stay away from the guys. And he said, "Oh, he looks in good shape." And where he had come from, apparently he had made huge amounts of gains. But he missed it. He did the 2K time trial and he missed out by, I think, 6 or 7 seconds. And I just will always remember he pleaded to let him and have another go or have another chance. And, you know, I just couldn't do it. You know, would undermine the entire structure and system that we had put in place here for the Indian team. But I really hoped, and I had a chat with him after that, he uses that as fuel to, you know, keep improving. It's not the end of the road here, you know, but like I said, it's a privilege to play for India, and there has to be the highest standards. And I'm not saying he wasn't fit. He was definitely made huge improvements, but that'll always stick into my mind. You know, there's a lot at stake for these guys, and yeah, I really do hope Rahul Tiwari over at some stage does make another entry into this team, and he learned a lot from that experience, because it's not easy to make this team. So yeah, that was a learning experience for me going through this standards process, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, Rahul Tiwari's attitude as it pertains to this incident definitely exemplifies what the best in the business do in terms of looking at obstacles as opportunities, or, you know, you could absolutely converting stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And I think that pretty much, you know, in many ways describes the culture in the Indian cricket team as well, or the mentality that the boys have in the Indian cricket team, you know, not looking at anything as an obstacle, but as an opportunity.
I think it comes down to the mindset and how we approach these guys after that something like that happens as well. You can either give up and go, you know, stuff this, I'm out, too hard, or you go, opportunity, okay, I need to keep improving, and using it as opportunity as a learning experience, and how can I get better, and at what time frame, and at what time frame do I need to be able to increase my levels? What support do I need? What programming do I need to be able to get better? And that's something Virat Kohli is very good at. If I can make a comparison, he's at a level now where he understands his body so well. He's so meticulous. He is always looking for that 1-2% extra that he can add to his routine. Whether it's, especially now, he's so aware of his body, he understands what he needs, and he's looking at things like recovery. For him, his training ethic in the gym, running, absolutely fine. We've got that covered. But how he recovers, the tools that he uses, when, how, the equipment that he has available to him, he makes sure that that's in his bag. And he trials things off tour, whether it's different types of food, because he's obviously vegan, whether it's different tool. He will trial it and then, okay, right, this is working for me. And he utilizes it. So he's always looking for that 1 or 2%, because he knows that I've had this conversation where he wants to play till he's 40, and he doesn't want to be one of those older players where he's a passenger in the team. He has to be hit in the field. He wants to be diving around and being as athletic as he can when he's 40 and scoring hundreds. And that's his process. So that is why he is so meticulous, and that is why you have to be so fit.
Absolutely. Nick, you know, as you were describing Virat Kohli's mentality, his fitness routine, and how he's always looking to have that, get that incremental 1% improvement or that 2% improvement. The reason I was smiling is because, you know, the person who sprung to mind was Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, in many ways, you could call Virat Kohli the Cristiano Ronaldo of cricket, or perhaps, you know, Cristiano the Virat Kohli of football. You know, I think that's a good segue to something that I had in mind. If you look at the fitness levels of some of the players right now, some of the elite players right now, you know, even at the age of 36, 37, as they're nearing their 40s, they're still extremely fit. If you look at Cristiano, he's 36 right now, still firing on all cylinders. Lionel Messi, 34. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he's 40. MS Dhoni is 40. He still, won the IPL title for Chennai Super Kings, and a whole host of other examples. You know, this wasn't very common earlier, maybe 10 years back or 15 years back. I remember having a conversation with Harbhajan Singh in the KKR bubble when I was doing some work for KKR as the presenter. Yeah. And I remember asking him, you know, Bhaji, who was the fitness freak amongst all you players in the Indian team when you were at your peak? And, you know, he said, it's a good question that you asked me, but I can't really think of anyone who was like Virat Kohli during my day when I was donning the colors of the Indian cricket team. So there definitely has been a paradigm shift, as we called it. Now, Nick, how do you think, this shift has helped players, not just in cricket, in football, in sport in general? Like, what do you think this, what are some of the ways in which this has helped the performance of the players, as well as perhaps, helped sport in general?
It's a good question. I think these guys are playing longer because the guys like me and the services and facilities that are available and the resources available to these guys is exponential now. There's a lot of investment in nutrition, psychology, physical preparation, sports science, physiotherapy, medical, that allows these guys to play longer. So there's a lot more facilities and resources available to these guys. But also, life in sport for these guys is short term. If you think of a guy and a cricketer, even a football player, to go to 40, they would have been playing, let's just say 20 years. That's a small portion of your life. So you want to make the best of that and the most of that. And these guys are commodities, this is their living as well. So you want to make the most of it. And if you can extend that for as long as you can, as long as you're enjoying the process and enjoying being around the team and playing the sport, whether it's football or cricket, then albeit, there's the research and the science and the facilities and resources available for them to do it, as long as they have the mindset to do it. If you compare the guys like Ronaldo and Virat Kohli, one thing that stands out is these guys' mindset. They are just so meticulous, and they have spent so much time discovering how their bodies work. You talk to Virat Kohli, he is very in tune with his body. And it comes down to their mindset of, performance and how can I get the most out of my body and my mind that can affect my skills on the field and how I perform. So I think once you get to a certain level like Ronaldo, I feel, yes, these guys and Virat Kohli, you don't want your fitness to be a determining factor of failure. Virat Kohli is failing again, he's not that fit, or Ronaldo, no, he's getting heaps of injuries, or you take that off the cards, you take that off the table, you fit the entire time. But I think the most crucial part, as soon as you start getting older, is the mindset and how you feel that you can best contribute to the team and the sport. And that comes down to their preparation as well. So it's an integrated approach. So it's not just one thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, and the physical and the mental also complement each other beautifully. I remember coming across an interview of Virat Kohli. This was probably like 6 or 7 years back, when he was, at his very prime, 2016, 2017. And he had mentioned in the interview that, ever since I got physically fitter, I started thinking a lot better. I started having positive thoughts in my mind. And that's one of the reasons why Charles Duhigg, who's an author, he wrote The Power of Habit. He calls fitness a keystone habit as well. Of course, it improves how you look physically, but it also improves the nature of your mind. You start thinking better, you have clearer thoughts, as a result of which, when you go out there, you can freely express yourself and you don't enter the field with any baggage, mental or physical. Correct.
And I'll always remember when I worked in New Zealand cricket, we had a sports psychologist, Gary Hermanson. He a legend in New Zealand cricket. He's worked with a lot of sports anyway, as well. And like I said earlier, you take fitness off the table, but as the fitter you are, Gary Hermanson will say you have that mind-body connection. So if you go out to bat and you're unfit, or you've just run a 3 and you're huffing and puffing and you can't concentrate, your mind's all foggy and you're worried about how am I going to run the next quick single or a quick 2, and you make poor decisions. Where if you're the fitter you are, you are able to think clearly. You have that mind-body connection where that if you are in the moment, you are thinking very clearly around your process, what you're going to do next. Where if you're not, you haven't got that mind-body connection, you are tired, you freeze, you can't think clearly around the processes and your routines that you have pre-ball, or if you're at the top of the mark of your bowler. So I'll always talk about that mind-body connection. And the influence of your mental preparedness for your skills. It has a huge correlation and a translation to how guys express themselves with their skills. The fitter you are, the more clearly you can think, the more in the moment you can be. Yeah, it's a huge piece of the puzzle that I think you know, us as head of performance and strength conditioning can really integrate well with other professionals. And look, these guys here, the Indian team, they are here because of their processes. They understand the game very, very well. And it's just about, you know, refining on how they go about their business, and allowing them to discover the answers that they need if they're not performing as well with their skills, because they've got the answers with them. It's just about, you know, finding solutions as quickly as we can, because sometimes we only have a day between games. So yeah, the mental preparedness and ensuring that these guys stay with their routines and as fit as they can, so it doesn't influence their skills, is hugely important.
Anik, a couple of closing questions. You know, given how much the game has evolved, given how competitive the game has become, and given how low the margin for error has become in the game, how fit you are can actually be the difference between 1 run taken versus 2 runs taken. The difference
Correct.
between, say, an outstanding catch versus a dropped catch, but a good effort.
100%. And, you know, we work a game of, you know, millimeters, really. You know, you could be a millimeter out of the crease and you're gone. And that's the momentum shift that a fielding team needs. Or you can make a stunning catch, like you said, and, you know, you've been in a hole in a test match on day 3, and you're 80 overs deep into day in the dirt, you know, and you're tired, and you have someone pull off something like a screaming catch, and all of a sudden you've got 2 or 3 quick wickets. You know, it's that momentum shift that you need. That's what the fitness and athleticism does. Yeah, and again, like I always said, you don't want that to be a determining factor of, you know, failure. You want it to be a determining factor of success. You want to be able to have that athleticism in your tool belt, and to be able to provide those momentum shifting athletic plays to shift the game. Because like you said, the margins are so small. And that could be here, T20 World Cup, it could be the difference between whether we win or lose. You know, just one play.
Absolutely. Nick, you know, we'll close with a message from you to our viewers on Crictips. Look, we spoke a lot about the Indian cricket team. We spoke about the culture in the dressing room. We spoke about the culture of excellence, the culture of fitness. And we talked about how, you know, fitness has contributed to the culture of excellence within the cricket team. So it's fair to say that, you know, fitness can have like a massive impact. What message would you like to convey to our Crictips viewers in terms of how they can get fitter? You know, you've had lots of success stories. Like, how can you, like, having learned from the success stories and from the power of those examples, like, what message would you like to convey to people who might be watching this?
Look, I think anyone that's wanting to get fitter, not only for cricket, but for life in general, I think there's a lot of information out on the internet at the moment. And look, there's some good quality information as well, but it's about understanding what information is right for you as well. And I think the first thing I would say is, you know, understand why you want to get fitter, whether it's just for health reasons, because that's still going to transfer to everyday life and cricket. But if you want to get fitter for performance reasons in cricket, then great as well. Understand, you know, your own personal vision of why you want to get fitter, and then seek help, seek guidance. There are plenty of strength and conditioning coaches out there, mentors coaches, any sort of coach that you feel that you need to help, you know, better your game. Seek the advice, because there are plenty of people out there now that can provide that guidance for you, and then get into a routine. You know, it's not easy. You know, you see all these videos on Instagram, and, you know, it's just a small snapshot of the guy's routine. You know, you'll see Virat or Rohit or whoever posting videos. That's just one small snapshot of their weekly routine. You know, so you get yourself into a routine, allocate at the start of every week when you are going to go into the gym, what support that you need, what food do you need, and if you're not in the position to be able to plan something like that, then start with small steps. Choose one thing to work on every week, but get yourself into a routine, and then look to improve yourself, whatever you're doing, every single week. And look, don't be too hard on yourself. don't take yourself too seriously, but enjoy the process as well. You know, it has to be fun. These guys have a lot of fun too, but they also go through some tough times. It's tough being on tour a lot, but we have to still enjoy each other's company. And it's the same thing with everyone out there listening. You know, get yourself into a routine, but enjoy the process. As long as you love the process, it's more sustainable. And especially don't look for shortcuts. You know, small incremental gains over the weeks, months, as years is going to be, you're going to be able to sustain that for a longer period of time than some short quick fix. Whether it's in the gym, move really well over a long period of time as your foundation. Set your foundation up for life, and then that'll transfer over to your cricketing preparation as well. So that's, I guess, the initial guidance that I would give.
Absolutely. You know, putting in that 1 hour or whatever, half an hour of work every single day, and then letting compounding doing the magic. You know, they call compounding the 8th wonder of the world for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And like, when you talk about, if you can only spare half an hour a day, great, you know, but do something, get yourself into a routine. Because I promise you, as soon as you start getting active and doing something for yourself and you felt like you've achieved something, your day is set, you know, and it's a habit and it's addictive. You're like, okay, I want more and I want more. How can I keep improving? You know, but you need to make it achievable, because if you set the bar too high, then you're gonna give up and go, well, it's too hard, you know, make it achievable and then progress from there. Little stepping stones.
Absolutely. And do you want to conclude proceedings by talking about your personal project? It's called the Cricket Project. I believe it's a project that fuses cricket as well as fitness. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, your cricket project. So it's just it's been a working project for a little while, and it's been a little bit slower than I've actually liked, purely because I've been on tour so much. But over time, I'll slowly, you know, increase the type of services that it's providing. So I've got on there more online based physical preparation programs, and it's basically tailored for entry level, anyone wanting to start. It's all online based, and it's all automated, and you've got the messaging tool in there has direct line towards me as well if anyone wants to message me about the programs or any ideas, or you know, sometimes if you purchase the program, you may not have certain equipment available to you. There's an ability there to ask me questions of how to, you know, sub things out. So it's a good accessible program online that allows me to, you know, reach, you know, whoever wants to improve their cricketing physical preparation. But look, it could even touch on anyone and reach anyone who doesn't want to improve their cricketing performance, but just learn how to move well in the gym and get into a good routine. So yeah, like I said, it's been a bit of a slow start, and you know, I'll start increasing the services there over time. But yeah, it's a good starting project.
Brilliant, mate. Nick, absolute pleasure having you on a Crictips platform. Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Wish you all the very best with this project of yours, as well as with all your future personal as well as professional endeavors, and all the very best, you know, from the 1.4 billion people in India to the Indian cricket team for the rest of the tournament as well.
Thanks very much. No, it's been awesome to chat with you. And I hope we can get across the line in 2 days' time against New Zealand. Crucial match. But the boys are certainly up for it. And no, yeah, the boys are preparing well. Obviously, we had a little bit of a hiccup against Pakistan, but Pakistan's a very good side. So we're prepared well and we're ready for it.
Godspeed. Brilliant, mate. Thank you so much again.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Likewise.
Cheers.